Hello, I hope you're well. My name is Jack. Today we're shooting out a Fender Telecaster versus Squire Classic Vibe. Let's see what happens. Like I said in the intro, we're going to be doing a Telecaster shootout today. I've got my Fender Raod Worn Telecaster and this is my girlfriend's Squire Classic Vibe Telly. Which I actually bought for her 21st birthday. This is a really cool guitar. I've always wanted to try a Classic Vibe because if you watch, you know, like the Andertons videos or, well, anybody on YouTube, I guess who does guitar stuff, they always talk about the Classic Vibe stuff and, you know, how it's great value for money. And I never played one before, and I thought it'd be really fun to do a comparison between what you would get for basically 300 quid, plus 350 quid versus my £900 telly. I'll put timestamps in the description below if you just want to skip to how these sound, but we're going to quickly go through the spec of each guitar. Got my iPad here, I'll put these on screen as I talk about them as well. So the Squire Classic Vibe, it's a pine body with a C-shaped maple neck. The fingerboard is maple as well. 25.5 scale length and a 9.5 radius. 21 narrow tall frets. Bone nut. The pickups are Fender designed Alnico single coils. Volume tone through a pickup selector. 3 saddle vintage style string through body telly with chrome barrel saddles and vintage style tuners. So it's very reminiscent of what you would find on a vintage telly. And going over to my Raod Worn telly, my Raod Worn telly is actually a 2018, it's not a new one, but the tech spec on this, it's an older body and it has a nitro cellulose lacquer finish, which we'll talk about later. Maple neck, Raod Worn urethane finish on the neck, it's a C-shaped profile as well. 25.5 scale length, maple fretboard, 7.25 fingerboard radius, 21 narrow jumbo frets, synthetic bone nut, dot inlays. Both pickups are Tex-Mex single coil telly pickups. Volume tone 3-way, and again has the 3 saddle vintage style strings through body Telecaster with chrome barrel saddles. Vintage machine heads and all templated relicking as well, seeing as it's Raod Worn. So both guitars have different features on them, but fundamentally they're both Telecasters and they both sound like Telecasters. And I think the differences between these guitars are more in the looks and the feel rather than the sound, as you'll hear right now. So I've done excerpts of 3 different sounds on all pickups on both guitars. So you're going to hear a clean sound on all 3 positions on both guitars. You're going to hear a dirty sound on all 3 positions on both guitars, and then a higher gain sound on all 3 pickups on both guitars. So let's see how it sounds. So I think it's fair to say that if you're really listening for the differences, you could probably hear it, but fundamentally they both sound like tellies. When I was playing the guitars, I just noticed the massive difference in feel, which we'll talk about now. So this is my Raod Worn Telly. You'll have seen this in a few videos that I've done. I've talked about how it's nitrous cellulose lacquer, which basically means that the type of lacquer that they put on this, it's not very thick, so the more you play, the more it's easier to make indentations, and it's just a lot less gloopy than a polyurethane finish. The finish kind of comes away a lot more easier, but because this is Raod Worn as well, it's designed to look like a beat up old telly anyway. But the lacquer kind of adds to the vibe where, you know, the more you play, the more marks you get on it, and it's just a really cool finish. I think all guitars should be nitrocellulose finish. I think it's awesome. I love the look of them more because they look more vintage, and also the more you play it, the more you dint it, and I just think it's really cool. And I think a chunk of the money for this guitar, really, I think these are about £1,000 now for the new ones. I think I bought this for about 900 quid. The bulk of the money, I think, goes into the aesthetic in the look, because it's templated relicing and the finish that goes onto it. I think that's where a chunk of the money goes, because this is a Mexican guitar. It's not an American or anything. And if you were looking at a standard Mexican, you're looking at about 500 to 700 quid maybe. So a chunk of the money for this guitar, I think, goes into the look. The pickups are really, really good. I'd highly recommend the Tex-Mex pickups for both Strat and Tellys. They're really, really good. There's just a really nice snap on them. Having said that though, when I played the other guitar, they both sounded really good. Blindfold test, I probably wouldn't be able to hear the difference, but when I was playing them, I could feel the difference, because this guitar is polyurethane lacquer finish, which means that it is really shiny and glossy, which some people like and some people prefer. I don't. I do have a couple of guitars with this on, and I guess in a perfect world I would get rid of it, but I've seen people get the lacquer off and it's quite a bit of graft. So whether it would be worth it or not is a different matter. But yeah, this is my girlfriend's Telecaster that I bought for her. It looks great. It really reminds me of Rick Parfitt from Status Quo's guitar. I think that might have been the vibe that we're kind of going for, but it's an awesome, awesome guitar, as you've heard. I do think it feels really brand new and shiny, and I guess that's because it is, but it doesn't feel like a vintage guitar or anything like that. So if you're wanting to buy one because it's like says 50s classic vibe and you're hoping it's going to be a beat up telly, it's not what this is. It looks more like a telly that came out brand new in the 50s, I guess. But if you're looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, you can see that the bridge isn't exactly the same as a normal telly bridge. It doesn't have the curved edges or the brass saddles. You can tell it's not a Fender if you're really looking for the differences. But as far as guitars go, it's a great guitar. I love the vintage tuners and the vintage hardware, and I think that's a big attraction for this guitar. And I think for the money, it's an incredible bit of kit. This was about 350 quid, I think. And yeah, it's an awesome, awesome guitar. It looks great, it sounds great. It's not the feel that I prefer, but I like it. I like playing it. But some people will prefer this feel over to a Raod Worn custom shop kind of feel. It's all personal preference at the end of the day. It's not about what's most expensive, it's what feels right for the player, and every player is different. So if you like a glossy neck, this is probably a really good shout. So the question is, do you buy a Mexican Fender for £900, or do you buy a Classic Vibe Squire for 350 quid? And I mean, I would choose this all day long, because I think the look and feel of this is much more to me. And I think the sound in the pickups, I think both pickups sound pretty good, and I think there's more to be said in the feel and look of these guitars than the sound of it, because they both sound like tellies at the end of the day. But I think if you're just starting to get into guitar, or you don't want to spend too much money, the Classic Vibe series is absolutely fantastic. They've released a whole load of new models for Telly and Strat. The Strat ones look really, really, really good, but they're both really good guitars. I think when you're spending more than 300 quid, you're gonna get something good, but then like the next notch up is kind of like the 800 to like a grand kind of mark, and that's where this kind of comes into play. But again, you're paying for more the aesthetic with this one, I think. Vinyl scratch plate not included. So yeah, if you want to spend a bit more money and have a bit more aesthetic, get a Raod Worn. If you're just starting out, or you want an affordable guitar that looks and sounds great, get a Squire. Thank you so much for watching. That was a shootout between two Telecasters. This was a really fun video. I really enjoyed playing both and seeing how they were side by side. It's something I've always kind of wanted to try out, I guess. And the Classic Vibe stuff is awesome. The Strats, I really like the black Strat that they've got, and they've got a one in Fiesta Red as well, which looks awesome too. So definitely check them out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and maybe subscribe if you fancy. If you want to see more videos on the Classic Vibe, drop a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much. I've been Jack. See you soon.